Good morning, LPES. I am so excited to be here with all of you today as we're getting closer to the holiday break and as we have so many fun and exciting things going on here at LPES and I'm sure at your houses and around the community too. So, first big thing, next week we have a special celebration on Monday. We are going to be having our Panther Pride meeting. Now, I know teachers and students, I know last month we had some trouble with sound and being able to really hear the Panther Pride meeting. I have a few tricks up my sleeve that I'm hoping are going to help us, so don't worry, even if we are live streaming into your classrooms on Monday, I'm still hoping that you're going to be able to hear all of us and be able to really participate. We have some fun stuff planned for that Panther Pride meeting as well. So make sure you tune in. It's going to be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday. And that means that Monday is a house color day. So whatever house you're in, make sure you're wearing your house colors to represent your house. My friends who won for the month of November, the Mammal House. Do you remember your prize was two things? The first thing was extended recess time, which we had the other week. So much fun. And then the second thing is you get to be our live audience members for our Panther Pride on Monday. On Monday, we'll be announcing our December house winners for the month. And then those kids will get to come and be our live audience members in January. So we'll just kind of keep passing it forward down the line, which I'm really excited about. So Monday, Panther Pride, and wear your house colors. Last week, we had a really exciting Friday Feeling video. I just want to pause and say thank you to everyone who was so kind and nice, and my students. It was so great to get to celebrate with all of you. So thank you for that really, really special award, and I know Miss Riley is really thankful as well. And congrats again to Miss Riley, who is just such an awesome teacher, as so many of our friends here are at LPES. So, all of that being said, we're back to kind of a normal, a little bit more chill Friday feeling. Last week, as you heard at the end when we were making our special announcements, and I actually got really nervous and excited and had my own big emotions that were happening, I did say on the video, I need to do some breathing exercises. And a few students came to me and said, Mrs. Heffler, is that true? Did you actually have to do breathing exercises afterwards? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Because just like when we have those big uncomfortable feelings, sometimes when we have big comfortable feelings like excitement or joy, they can also be really overwhelming. And they can make our bodies and our hearts and our minds do some wild things like beating really fast or feeling a little out of control, maybe getting really hot. I know last week when Mrs. Bammer was making the announcement, I was getting really hot as she was saying my name. I was sweating, I was getting warm, my heart was beating fast. So just like when we talk about comfortable and uncomfortable emotions, sometimes they can kind of do the same thing. Let's review what comfortable and uncomfortable emotions are. I love to do this with my younger students. When we do comfortable, can you all take your arms? This is actually kind of nice too to start us off on a Friday morning. Just like let's stretch them out. Make a big T of yourself, putting your arms all the way out. And then can you wrap them around yourself, give yourself a little squeeze, a little hug. And as you're here, can you kind of hug yourself and can you say comfortable emotions? We have our comfortable emotions. So when we're talking about comfortable emotions, it's almost like when we're talking about being wrapped in something really warm and cozy. Except it's not with our body. A comfortable emotion is something we feel in our heart or something we feel in our brain. So some comfortable emotions might be things like happiness, calm, excitement, joy, love. All of those are examples of comfortable emotions. We don't want them to go away. We like how they feel. We wish that they would stay for a really long time. Our other kind of emotions are uncomfortable emotions. Can you pretend that you picked up something disgusting off the floor and can you say uncomfortable emotions? Uncomfortable. Yeah, those uncomfortable emotions, they aren't bad. I'm going to say it again. They are not bad, but they don't feel as good when they happen to us. When we have uncomfortable emotions, we wish that they would go away quickly. When we talked last week about our prefrontal cortex, or our wise owl, as I like to call it, our wise owl, this front part of our brain right here, that is the part of our brain that's in control when we're normally feeling those comfortable emotions, for the most part. When we feel calm, when we feel happy, when we feel relaxed, wise owl is in control. But when we have uncomfortable emotions, sometimes the wise owl flies away and we lose control of ourselves a little bit. We might make choices without thinking first. We might do things that can then get us in trouble. However, this is a little tricky. Sometimes when we have uncomfortable emotions like anger, sadness, frustration, we know when that happens, we might not be making great choices. But sometimes when we have comfortable emotions, the same kind of thing can happen. And I thought that this was a really important topic for us to talk about going into next week. Next week, we have Panther Pride. I know my kindergartners have Grinch Day. I know that we all have our classroom parties on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we all have our class parties, and Thursday is a half day, and then we're not in school on Friday. That kind of week can bring about a lot of emotions for people. It can bring about emotions of excitement or joy. It might bring about emotions of frustration or confusion because our week is a little different than what we're used to. Whatever you might feel next week going into our holiday break is totally normal. Maybe you feel so excited to go, and if you celebrate Christmas, to go celebrate Christmas with your family. Maybe you don't celebrate Christmas. And so maybe next week is kind of a hard week for you because you're like, oh my goodness, I don't celebrate this holiday, but everybody's talking about Christmas. Maybe next week is a really exciting week for you, regardless of what you celebrate or don't celebrate, because you're just excited to have a break from school. Maybe next week is really a hard week for you because you like coming to school and you don't really want to leave that routine of getting to come to school each morning and see your teacher and your friends. Whatever it might be, it's totally fine. However you feel about next week and the week after that is totally normal, and that's fine. What I wanted to talk to you about is if you are a kid or a grown-up that is really looking forward to next week and really looking forward to having that break, then sometimes when we have those really comfortable emotions like excitement or joy, we can also do things without thinking. We can also make choices without thinking about it first that then might get us in trouble later on. Okay. So we kind of have two sides of the same coin here. We have two things that can happen whether we feel really comfortable emotions or uncomfortable emotions. Either way, we have to be aware that sometimes when those big emotions take over, we lose control of ourselves a bit, and we might do things that get us in trouble. We might act a little bit sillier than we normally do. We might be louder than we normally are. And just by being aware of that, just by going into next week being like, oh, Mrs. Heffler talked about on her Friday Feels, I know that next week might be a hard week for me to make good choices. Just by being aware of it, sometimes we can help to stop those bad choices before they happen. Sometimes we can stop ourselves from getting too wild or too excited or maybe even too frustrated or too sad before we do something that may get us into trouble or may hurt somebody else's feelings or may even hurt us if we're doing something wild, running down the hallway and we fall and get hurt. Okay, so talking about those different types of things. Let's also pause for a moment and instead of thinking about next week, let's reflect back on this past week. When we talk about reflecting, sometimes we think of a mirror. We have our reflection in a mirror. If we're looking at ourselves, we're looking at our reflection. When we are reflecting on ourselves or our past experience, we're looking back on it and we're kind of trying to figure out what was good about it, what we could have done better, or maybe what was really great and what we really enjoyed. This is something we've been doing for a few weeks now. We've talked about our peaks and our valleys. For today, what I want you to do is I want you to sit up nice and tall for a moment. I want you to take a big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Oh, I feel myself settling down. I had my coffee this morning and I feel like I'm speaking really quickly, and taking these deep breaths is even helping me to calm down a bit. Let's do that again. Big deep breath in and let it out. All right. As we are getting ourselves a bit more settled, I want you to think about that peak and that valley. What was your peak of the week? Actually, let's flip it. Let's start with the valley so we can end it a little bit happier. Think about what your valley was this week. Think about a moment that didn't go as planned. Think about something that wasn't as great as you were hoping. Think about a choice we made that maybe got us in trouble with our teacher, got us in trouble at home, maybe got us into a fight with our friend or a brother or sister. Or maybe it's not even something you got in trouble for, but maybe it was a moment that you felt an uncomfortable emotion and it was hard. I had a lot of students come to me this week, a lot, about test taking and how sometimes when we're taking tests, it can make us feel really uncomfortable and can make us have trouble staying calm. Maybe you had a moment like that. So think about that valley. Think about that low point of the week or that thing that was really tough. Take a deep breath. I want you to kind of picture holding it in your hand, whatever that moment might be, whatever tough emotion that was, whatever hard thing that was. You can actually hold it in your hand if you want, or if you're too cool for this, my 4th graders and 3rd graders, you can just pretend to be doing that in your mind. I want you to take another deep breath in, and as you exhale, I want you to picture like blowing it away. Almost like when you have a dandelion and it's all those little white fuzzies on the top of that flower, right? This happens more in the summertime, and you can go and see all of those pieces fly away. I want us to do the same thing with whatever that valley was this week. I want us to pretend that you're holding it in your hand, that it's all these little pieces or feathers or whatever it might be. And as we breathe in and we breathe out, we blow it away. We let it fly away. We let ourselves let go of it. Now I want you to think about whatever your peak was this past week, that really great thing, the thing that maybe went better than you thought it would. Or maybe you had a tough test and then you got a good grade on it and you were kind of surprised. Or maybe you were able to solve a problem with a friend. Or maybe not even a friend, maybe just a classmate who you haven't been seeing eye to eye with. Maybe the two of you have been having some arguments or disagreements. I want you to think about what went really well this week, that you were able to do well, that you're proud of. And I want you to think about how that makes you feel, even just reflecting on it. What was your win this week? Could be something teeny tiny small. Sometimes that's all it is, and that's okay. And I want you to think about going into next week with all the excitement or challenges that next week might bring, how we are going to take that moment, that win, that peak, and repeat it again next week. Or maybe, if it's really tiny, maybe make it just a little bit bigger. Kind of like when you're on a phone and you go zoop, and you kind of make the picture just a little bit bigger. We kind of zoom in, okay? Let's picture that thing, whatever it was, whatever moment that went well for us this week, whatever thing we're proud of, and picture just kind of zoop, zooming it in a little bit next week, making it a little bit bigger. We're not going from this to this. We're just making it a little bit bigger. Maybe we reacted well when someone did something that wasn't super nice. Maybe we felt ourselves getting angry and were able to calm ourselves down a little bit before we did something we regretted. Next week, take that moment, try to make it a little bit more. Try to do it more than once, or try to do it for a longer period of time, whatever it might be. All right, friends. So far, we've covered uncomfortable and comfortable emotions, how next week those comfortable or uncomfortable emotions can kind of throw us off a little bit, and how we can be prepared for that. And we've reflected back on this past week and what has gone super well and what has gone maybe not so great, and how we're going to try and fix that moving forward. Even as grown-ups, even as me as your school counselor, there are times that I lose control of myself, and there are things that I do when I'm feeling big emotions or uncomfortable ones that then afterwards I don't feel great about. The trick is we learn from those experiences. That's what all of this is about. That's why Mrs. Heffler signs on each week on Fridays, to try and help you think back to what we've done and how we can try to make it better in the future. It's okay to make mistakes. I can't say this enough. It's okay to make mistakes. We all do. The important thing is that we're learning from them and trying to change them moving ahead. Okay, I've been talking a lot today. Let's go ahead and do some relaxation exercises, some mindfulness exercises to get ourselves set and ready to go for Friday and head into the weekend. So, sit up nice and tall. We're going to do the same ones we did last week because I really enjoyed those, though. I might have it right here. I meant to have my little light guys ready for us to use again. Let's see. Oh, I think I place them someplace else. That's okay. We'll use a different one. So for right now, I want you to sit up nice and tall. Shoulders are relaxed and back. We're not leaning back. We're not leaning over in my squeaky chair here. We are sitting up nice and tall, whether you're at school or at home. And as we're breathing in, I want you to take your hands today and place them on your belly. And when you breathe in, you're going to feel your belly kind of push out, so that we're taking those deep breaths into our belly. We're not breathing into our shoulders. That's not going to help. Did you hear how my voice changed when I did that? That's what happens when we kind of raise up like this. We squish all this down, and it's not going to make us feel calm or relaxed. It's going to make us feel really tense. So keep those shoulders down, breathing big space into our belly. Ready? Breathe in deep. And let it out. Remember last week we used imagery? We used our imagination to try and picture our favorite cookies being baked. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. You can choose the same cookie or a different one today, your choice. But we're going to pretend that we have this warm, beautiful plate of cookies right in front of us that we're about to eat one of. And we go ahead, we breathe in. We pretend to smell the cookies. Today mine are gingerbread. And we breathe out like we're blowing on a cookie to cool it down. It's too hot, just came out of the oven, can't eat it yet, it's gonna burn the roof of our mouth. Gotta cool it down first. Breathe in, smell that cookie, and breathe out. Do that one more time for me. Breathe in, and breathe out. Lovely. All right, friends, remember how I told you we all make mistakes, and it's okay to make a mistake. I meant to have my paper ready to go and right here next to me for our light breathing that we did last week, where we had that string of lights. I don't know where it is right now. I made a mistake. It's okay. But I am going to grab something else to use as an example. I know I've used this with a few of our classes before. I think it was earlier in the year, but I love using this guy right here because it really helps us to picture what it's like when our lungs expand, when our lungs are getting bigger, kind of by our ribs. They're expanding outward, they're expanding back, we're breathing into our bellies. So our entire inside, from our rib cage down to our stomach area, all of that is expanding as we're taking these deep breaths. So we're going to end today with doing a few deep breaths with this sphere right here, okay? Again, nice and relaxed. Take a big deep breath in. And hold it. Exhale. Wonderful. We're going to do that again. I'm going to hold it again at the top. So we just hold our breath for a moment and then breathe out. Ready? Big deep breath in. And exhale. One more. This one's going to be tricky. We're going to do 2 deep breaths in without breathing out in between. Watch me. Ready? Big deep breath in. Hold it. Breathe in a little bit more. Now exhale. All right, my friends. However you feel about next week, whether you're excited, whether you're nervous, whether you are kind of indifferent, you don't really care either way, I'm excited to be here with you next week. We will have a Friday Feeling next week on Thursday, so it'll be a day early, but I want to do one quick one before we send you all off for your break. So tune in then. Until then, remember LPES, stay kind. Bye, friends.